Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Tá Fearfáilte Rómh Gaolair. You're all very welcome to this inaugural annual Vexillology Ireland lecture by our member Stan Moore. Now, as you probably all know, vexillology is the study of flags and banners. And the title of this lecture is The County Arms and Flags of Ireland. Now, Stan is a renowned vexillologist. He's also the curator of Ireland's first exhibition of flags and emblems during the Brathca Festival in 2013. And he's author of Ireland's only guide to flag design, which was called Flagging Ireland in 2015. So this is a new area of interest for me, and I'm looking very much uh, to hearing from Stan. So, Stan, you're very welcome to the Genealogical Society of Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi guys. I'm wearing a Dublin shirt, by the way, just so you know. And you will see how this is related to the presentation. So the presentation is going to be about the arms and flags of Ireland. I was told I get under an hour. Now, there are 26 counties in the Republic of Ireland and 32 on the island. I have nothing against the north, but I had a long day in work and I don't really want to do six extra counties. So I'm going to have to only do 26, unfortunately. So anybody from Ulster, I'm sorry. Um, so yeah, basically, quickly to kick it off. Now, the thing with Ireland that makes it quite peculiar and unique is that, well, firstly, we don't actually have official county flags. We have official county colours, and those county colours are actually sporting colours. So they originate from the GA, an Irish organization founded in 1884. And yeah, I guess really just kind of the history of county flags is really associated with mainly county jerseys. But as you'll see, uh, they also have other kind of maybe coincidences with local symbols. So just quickly get started with Carlow. So the Carlow County colours were adopted in 1927. They originally played in green and red until 1926 when during the Carlow County final against Milford, um, basically there was a big scrap and uh, the club was kicked out of the county towards Laois, which is, if you've ever been to Carlow Town, Greg Cullen is just on the outskirts. So they just moved a couple of meters to Laois and started playing in the other county. So Milford took over and they added the yellow, which combined created these Rastafarian light traffic light colors or whatever you want to call them. Um, now, the coat of arms are a lot older. They were adopted not in 1165, it's 1665. Sorry, there's an error I forgot to fix. Long day in work, and yeah, basically it was quite strange. They were granted, and then they just kind of disappeared, and they were only discovered in around 1949 by Edward MacLeisacht, the first Chief Herald of Ireland. Um, and yeah, as you look, the kind of the black and white symbols, they're called ermines, so they're just a symbol of royalty. Here they represent the Butlers, the Anglo-Norman family who became the Dukes and Earls of Ormond. So you see the Anglo-Norman origins there shown with the two lions, which were probably first used by King John, so the bad guy um, in Robin Hood before he became king. So it was only then we got three lions. Um, yeah, so Cavan County colours, they were adopted officially by the county board in 1913. Uh, the chances are they probably came from the Cavan Slashers uh, uh, club colours, so the basically the jersey. Um, now, they weren't the most successful team at the time, but they were most influential on the field and administration, so they played a role. Now, why those colors were chosen, we're not sure. I can't find any sources, but there is a chance that they were used um, I guess, to symbolize the Lakeland County, which is a nickname given to Cavan for all the lakes found there. Um, Now, the arms were adopted in 1979, and as you can see, the county colors were incorporated. You can see the wavy lines, which represent the hills, which gives the county its other name, Drumlin County. The O'Reillys and Rourkes were the two most kind of powerful families within the medieval Breffni kingdom, what is now kind of Cavan. Um, yeah, then moving on to Clare. So Clare colors, I'm not really sure. Were probably adopted around 1928. I'm still trying to figure it out. They played in kind of various colors, green, white, and stuff like that before that. But now, where it gets interesting here is that so I'm not sure if these colors were taken from a club, but it's basically um, believed, sort of, you might say, a myth was created that the colours were taken from the legendary Brian Boru, who was born in Killaloe in County Clare. Now, during the famous Battle of Clontarf in 1014, basically, it was said he flew a blue banner with a golden sunburst, which basically was the inspiration for the uh, the blue sunburst on Galgrania, which was introduced by the Gaelic League in 1893, based on another flag that I'll mention later on. Um, so, yeah, I'll get into it again later in the presentation, but basically, for a small island, we have a lot of color combinations. So we obviously have the tricolor, the green, white, and orange, or gold, depending on how fancy you want to sound, or depending what maybe what politics you want to push. Um, but I guess as I mentioned, the gold and blue might have its origins in um, the blue sunburst flag, but then really just to make it kind of obvious that the coat of arms of Ireland is a golden harp on a blue shield, and those are its library colours, or the main colours of the coat of arms. So it's very fitting that Clare and other counties use those colours because it's been used for centuries in Ireland, or to represent Ireland at least. Um, so the Clare Arms were adopted 1985, quite late. So what you have with Clare and other counties, so historically the counties would have been represented by the arms of the county town. So the county town in Clare is Ennis. So basically any souvenirs and stuff that were sold before 1985. Sure, even today, I don't know why, don't ask me. They still sell uh, symbols of Clare with the Ennis arms on it. Um, anyway, as you can see, there's the burn, the Kinning Thomond, which basically the crown is taken from the Munster coat of arms slash flag. Um, the stag is basically a symbol that's found on a number of the local families in Clare, such as the O'Connells and O'Connors. Um, yeah, I'm just mindful of the time. I can go on longer for each county, but we have 26, so I got to get through to them. Now, Cork is an interesting one because a short documentary was shown on TG Cahir there a couple of years ago, just kind of on the origins of the shirt. So Cork played in various colours, um, black and red of the Lees, then blue and saffron, and then in 1919, during kind of the Irish War of Independence, British soldiers actually raided a headquarters in Cork, took the team's jerseys. I don't know why. And basically, the team had nothing to wear, and so they just went to Father Leary's Temperance Association team, which was just closed down for some reason. I don't know, maybe too many drunks in Cork, no idea. But yeah, I mean, Cork then won I think, the hurling that year, and so is what you see happening with other counties, is they kind of purposely or accidentally adopt some colors, and then they go and win something, and then they see, oh wait, this is kind of a lucky charm for me, so I'm gonna keep playing in these colors. So that's what happens with Cork. Originally it's dark red, and the county board in Dublin tells them to lighten up the colors because of the clash between Tipperary, which used to play in red and white. So it was not only the clash of the ash in the hurling, it was also the clash of the reds. Um, and they also had to get rid of the TA on the jersey saying total abstinence. So again, um, couldn't pass some whiskey down in Cork. But what's interesting about those colors is that it's coincidentally the livery colors of Cork, which you'll see here, right in the center. So County Cork is interesting because it's the only county that has a seal. Reason being because it was adopted in 1899, the same year when all the county councils were originally adopted in Ireland. And the seals feature basically the six main towns in Cork, I should say. For me, probably Middleton's more important because that's where all the whiskey is produced in Ireland. Um, um, yeah, and moving on to Donegal. So Donegal unfortunately suffered from a lack of stability in terms of the GA movement. So um, this is one of the reasons why they were kind of late to adopt colors. I think they were adopted around 1927. I'm not really sure of the origins, but later on, as you'll see now here, with the coat of arms, which was adopted in 1974, you had this association of the gold representing the kind of sandy beaches of Donegal, and the green representing the lush kind of green hills and cliffs. Um, if you ever been up north. Yeah, but there is a possibility that the green and gold basically originate from the original sunburst, which was adopted by the Irish Republican Brotherhood, IRB, in around 1858. So basically it was green and gold originally, the sunburst. So when I talk about sunburst, it's basically just a green flag with like uh, a sun with rays coming out. And then that was switched to blue and yellow later on for other political movements, such as the Gaelic League. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, just quickly mention St. Columcille because these are one of our three patron saints who's from there. His um, what was it? Uh, well, I mean, his dove is a symbol because that's his name. That's the meaning of his name, and he was known as the dove of the church as well. Um, yeah, going to Dublin now, the colors I'm wearing. So Dublin originally played in um, light blue and white. They were adopted in 1913. This was a year when a lot of things happened in Dublin, especially specifically with the GA. There was a greater movement towards um, kind of centralization and organization. And so the Central Council in Dublin asked other counties to basically get their act together and adopt some um, proper colors for the counties because before that, a lot of times the colors would change year by year depending on the club champions. So meaning that counties were represented by clubs. Um, it wasn't. the same everywhere. It was kind of a mix, but gradually they started mixing the clubs together when the kind of the old rivalries kind of went aside, and um, the county identity developed throughout the country. So in 1974, what happened was basically, well, Dublin hadn't won anything for a long time, and kind of to do with black and white TV and stuff, it was felt that by replacing white with navy, so dark blue, you would get better contrast on the field and on TV. So and like with Cork, like other counties, Dublin finally won the All Ireland that year after like 16 years dry. And yeah, and they kept the colours for good luck, basically, and they've been playing ever since. Um, so basically, I don't. Uh, I've decided to show you an old Dublin coat of arms that doesn't exist anymore. I decided to show it because Dublin has been divided since 1994 into, well, Dublin City Council, South Dublin County Council, where I am, Dublin Rathdown, where the council has been based, and then Fingal up north. So, um, um, yeah, the arms were adopted in 1944. Well, Ireland was neutral at the end of the Second World War, so they had a little bit more free time. Um, yeah, you see various symbols which refer to the etymology of Dublin. So Dublin, Blackpool, there's the Viking heritage represented by the raven, and Baile as well. Um, so moving on to Galway. So Galway, like Cork, like a number of other counties, they played in various colors like blue and saffron, green and white. Very also another Irish combination. But basically, in 1934, the University College of Galway, UCG, what it was called back then, they won the Citizen Cup, so which is like kind of for the it's like the inter-university championship, and basically they won the spot to represent Galway in the final, and yeah, they just decided to Galway decided to play in their colors. And again, they won, and they considered the colors to be lucky, and they continued to play. Now, what's interesting about this color combination is now, although I've worked with the archivist there to try find a source for the reason why they adopted these colors, and we were unable to find them. But I mean, the educated guess is that it comes from the color of the sails of the Galway hooker. Now, um, there's this so-called barking process where you'd basically dip the sails into um, um, basically bark from the alder tree, and that would create this kind of maroon dark red color, basically. Um, and you see the colors there used on the Galway arms, which were adopted in 1993. Now, the county arms are pretty much the same as the city arms, which originate in the 15th century, apart from the addition of the 5 stars you see there, and basically the omission of a lion. Um, um, yeah, moving on. Kerry's a county's played for a very, very long time. I have 1913 here, just when they basically registered the colours when they were asked to by the Central Council, but uh, they played in them since like 1905, so since ages. Um, they originate as the colours of Tralee Mitchells, which were the most successful club in the county. I'm not sure where they adopted those colors. Again, it could be uh, the sunburst flag, the original one, which would have been probably more common in those, let's say, groups, or perhaps even the golden harp on a green um, banner, basically. Uh, but again, these are just speculations, so we're not really sure. Um, so Kerry's arms were adopted in 1984, and like with other counties, so the the county town was representing the county on souvenirs and flags and so on. And as I mentioned again, unfortunately, you still find these mistakes today online. Um, yeah, well, you see Brendan the Navigator, who supposedly discovered America. Take that, Columbus. Um, you see the pointy the blue and white points. They basically represent the mountains, the cliffs, and also the highest point in Ireland, Carrauntoohil. Well, obviously, I forgot to mention the inclusion of the county colours onto the arms. Um, yeah, there's Kildare. So they probably began to play in white in 1905. Now, I'm not going to get into if they came from Clane, if they came from Rosebery, but either way, they came from Clane, the town, or Rosebery, which is a club in Newbridge in County Kildare. Now, why they played in white, we're not sure. Most sources point to something to do with flour bags. So could be Odlums, the famous company still exists now. Could be lily whites, which was a term given to Kildare. Originally, it was the all whites. So compare that to the all blacks like New Zealand. Um, uh, but in any case, it's kind of the origins are kind of debated. But then again, so are the origins of Real Madrid in their white jersey, who are actually playing right now against Man City. As a Liverpool supporter, I don't know who I hate the most, Man City or Real Madrid. So, um, so Kildare arms were adopted in 1991. Again, also other symbols were used before that. You see the Red Cross, which is the main symbol there, comes from the Fitzgeralds, who gave us St. Patrick's Saltire and helped to create the current Union Jack British flag. You see St. Bridget. I want to mention her quickly just because it was her day on 1st of February. Um, she's become a little bit more popular in the last couple of years in Ireland because she gave us an extra bank holiday. She's third and the only female patron saint in Ireland. And then we also have, so Kildare just means Church of the Oak in Irish, and that's why they have an oak sprig just shown there. Um, so Kilkenny colours, quite established from very early on, although as you see later in the next slide, there was some competition for those colours. So they were taken on in 1906 by the Tullaroan club colours. The current jersey, if you know it, basically the vertically striped jerseys, they were probably introduced around 1911 by some guy called John Drennan, and they say he took it from a horse racing jacket from a jockey. So, which is it's a possibility because black and yellow are probably one of the strongest combinations you have for identification for seeing things from far away. So it makes sense why those color combinations would have been used. So here it's more not really symbolic, not really nationalistic, but more just, useful, kind of pragmatic, practical, I should say. So the Kilkenny arms, just like the Carlow arms, here I have the proper date, 1665. So again, they were granted, then they got lost, and then refound in 1949 by Edward MacLysac, the first Chief Herald of Ireland. And kind of a similar, you have the ermine, the black and white symbols there to represent the Butlers, who the Anglo-Normans who came in and became the Dukes of and Earls of Ormond. Dermot MacMorrough is the famous King of Leinster who invited the Anglo-Normans over through a Facebook request. Um, Yeah, and then went on to Laois. So Laois originally played in uh, black and saffron, just like Kilkenny. And as if you know geography, they border the county, so they would have created some kind of clashes if they obviously met together in any of the Gaelic football or hurling matches. Um, so yeah, I don't really know why they adopted blue and white in 1928. Maybe it was pressure from Kilkenny. But yeah, anyway, the colors were incorporated into the arms, which were adopted in 1998. Now, uh, as you can tell, again, quite late. So until then, um, Portlaoise, which is the county town, was used to symbolize the county for quite a while. And um, as far as I know, until 98, the county council in Laois used uh, the family arms of the Moors, which you see represented there by the lion in the center. And the 7 points you see on the red chevron are basically the other important families within the county. Rockdown Mace is a beautiful Anglo-Norman castle that's in ruins now, but it's up on a hill. If you ever get a chance to go up there on a when you have a sunset, it's amazing. Um, yeah, so Leitrim adopted colors in 1917. Um, yeah, I don't know. This the origins came from Shauna Heslin's club colors. That's from what I can tell. I could be wrong, but no, the date 1917 is important because 1916, as you'll see with kind of Offaly, we had the rebirth of the Irish tricolour. The tricolour, the idea of combining the green, the Catholics, and the orange, the Protestants, came from um, the repeal movement in 1830 during O'Connell's time. Now, it kind of came in and out, but it was reborn and remained born from 1916 because of the Rising. And so what you had since then and still to this day, you still have either the flag being depicted not as orange, but as gold. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but I mean, I've no problem seeing how people might see gold as being more of a fancy term than orange. So, politics aside, it's nothing to do with avoiding maybe Protestants or whatever the orange. It just sounds fancier to say green, white, and gold tricolor or green and gold flag. So that's why you have counties using the term gold rather than yellow, for example. It's not to do with heraldry, it's just to do with a fancy way to call your kit and your sporting colors. So the Leitrim arms were adopted in 1981. So we have the O'Rourke's important family in the area. We have the county colours represented in the coat of arms. Leitrim means stony ridge in Irish, so you kind of see that in the arm. So the shape is just some weird one I found on Wikipedia. So don't mind that. It's not as voluptuous in reality. It so Leitrim has the shortest coastline in Ireland, but they have a lot of lakes. I lived there for a year. Lovely Leitrim, as they call it on the road signs. A lot of rivers, lakes, beautiful place. So they're selling that on their coat of arms. Um, so Limerick, along with Fermanagh, which I decided not to mention because 26 counties is enough. Um, Basically, they adopted the colours officially in 1913 when the J asked counties to do so. Now, I'm not sure where the colours came from. There's not enough sources on my side, but uh, at that time, even before then, green and white was seen as a symbol of Irishness, as being proud to be Irish. And one great example is 10 years before that, in 1903, Celtic Football Club brought out its famous hooped jersey. And So, I wouldn't be surprised if Limerick and Fermanagh and other places were basically inspired by Celtic and it's Jersey. Now, the Limerick Arms were adopted in 1976. As you can see, the county colours were, sorry for the quality, it's just one I found. So we don't know. Well, we think that maybe the green and white is a symbol of Irishness, but after uh, the coat of arms were granted to Limerick in 1976, locally the green became associated with the kind of the fertile fields within the county, and the white kind of the milk flowing through it. So that's kind of the uh, mysticism to it. Yeah, and so you can see here in the arms, the wavy lines represent like the River Shannon, which Limerick City's built on, and the Viking origins, so on. Patrick Sarsfield, obviously the famous Earl of Lucan, who just helped to defend the city during the so-called Siege of Limerick in the Williamite War. Now, Longford is another example of where I'm not really sure where the colors came from. They were probably adopted in 1927. I don't know which club that was based on, but the chances are could have been from based on the sunburst flag of the Gaelic League. Um, Now, the arms were adopted in 1988. I mean, the name Longford just means, meaning the full Irish meaning is the fortress of the O'Farrells. So you see the castle, you see the dog from the family arms, and then you see some of the geography, the River Shannon, Laoghaire represented as well, with the county colours. And that's proper gold. There you go. That's real gold. That's kind of like brownish color when you actually paint it on. So in terms of national flags, Germany would be the only one that would actually call its yellow stripe as gold. But in this case, for not for sounding fancier, it's more to do with the fact that it originates from heraldry, where yellow is called or gold. So Louth was the first county to officially adopt county colors. So other counties might have, like Kilkenny, been plain in their colors. Louth actually was organized as a county board better than everyone else, and actually got their act together and adopted red and white. It was just a vote. They chose a few. The choice was between a few colors. They chose red and white. I don't know why, but my feeling is that it's the library colors, so the main colors of Dundalk. So red birds on a white shield, and so unfortunately, Louth decided not to incorporate the county colors into the county arms. But you see, so the two ships there, you see Drogheda and Dundalk. So at least Dundalk, both being obviously port cities on the coast, represented with boats. Um, yeah, then Mayo. So I don't really know when Mayo adopted this. There's just kind of sayings that, yeah, the colors were being used since like 18 something, but there's no, I haven't found any proof for it, so there was no point in me throwing out some random numbers. But the cat colors probably originated from the Ballina Stephanites, um, important club, won a lot in the county. Um, yeah, and I mean, um, I guess. Just to go back, I guess, just maybe mention that there is this theory that the colors were inspired by the famous poem "Green Above the Red" by Thomas Davis, sorry, famous Irish Protestant writer and poet. I actually played for a club called Thomas Davis here in Tala, so that's my only connection to the name. Um, yeah, so just to go back, you can see the incorporation of Mayo. the Mayo colors into the Mayo arms. We have, I mean, Mayo just means uh, what do you call it? The plane on the yew tree. So yew tree, um, I mean, the oak is the national tree of Ireland. That was officially established, but I would consider the yew tree to be like the secondary, the ancient tree of Ireland. I mean, evergreen, red berries. I mean, they live for an eternity. I mean, it's no wonder they planted them in most cemeteries around Ireland. Um, so Meath, again, another county to mix up with Donegal and Leitrim, and Kerry, with green and gold. So they adopted them in 1913 and then had to, you'll see at the end, had to compete with the Wicklow, who also played in green and gold for a while and then I think just gave up. So the colors probably originated from Castletown, a local club that was quite successful in winning the club championships. Now, the arms were adopted in 1988, and here you do see the incorporation of the county colors. Although here you see it as brown. So as you saw in one of my images where it was actually painted on um, with gold paint. So that's why it's brown here. It's because that's the color of gold paint when it dries. Um, Unfortunately. Yeah, and you see, yeah, obviously Newgrange, most famous ancient site, Book of Kells, which is not in Kells anymore. It's in Trinity College where I went to, and I used to go to the lectures in the morning and see just a random guy asking for the Book of Kells to be returned to Kells, as the name suggests. Um, yeah, Monaghan. I'm going to speed up quickly now. Yeah, so Monaghan adopted around 1915. I don't know why, just I think the county board decided to. I have a pretty good feeling that they just came from the colors of Monaghan town, which is basically a white castle on a blue shield, which represents the county until 1984 when yeah, Monaghan got its coat of arms finally. You can see the incorporation of the colors and then the four main tribes and the four tributes. Some elements you can find actually in the National Museum of Ireland. Um, yeah, Offaly. So Offaly, as you can see, is basically the Irish tricolour, although um, they don't call it orange, they call it gold. Now, I think they played in blue and white, which were the colors of Tullamore, the most successful club who represented the county. And yeah, to do probably with the Easter Rising and the rebirth of the Irish tricolour. Um, you had the actual full adoption of the Irish colours, not just green and gold, but green, white, and gold. So you see that in their incorporation into the Offaly Arms, which were granted in 1983. You see the Book of Doro, another famous book that's on display in Trinity College. Um, we have Bog Rosemary, obviously famous, important history of Bordemona, of bogs within the county. Um, uh, Um, then onto Roscommon. Roscommon was quite late. It just went through different colors. I don't know why it went through a teenage stage for some reason and adopted its colors around 1940, taken from Castlereagh. Again, it's the combination you find in you will see with Wicklow, um, yeah, with other counties. So. Um, Roscommon just means St. Coleman's wood in Irish. So you see there the symbolism and the incorporation of the colours. Douglas Hyde, our first president, was from there. Um, and yeah, and I guess important to mention, Roscommon's famous for its sheep herding, and that's why people call them the sheep stealers. Um, Sligo, yeah. So again, I don't know. Chances are Sligo has played in Black and white since the beginning because Tubber-Curry, those were their colors or still are, and they were the most successful club, so they represented Sligo. It could be also the case of kind of like Father Ted, where it was like really, really, really dark blue that was used, and then they people just thought, okay, well, might as well just make it black as it looks black anyway. Um, that's an issue that I'll actually quickly mention with Wexford in a bit. Um, Now, Sligo arms were adopted in 1982. Sligo just means shelly place in Irish, so hence the shells. W.B. Yeats spent a lot of time there. He's buried there. If you get a chance to see his grave, you have the famous Irish folktale, Dermot and Grania, and yeah, Tipperary. Now Tipperary again is another example, blue and gold, another Irish color combination, as I call it. Um, Now the most successful club was Tuberdora at the beginning. They were replaced by another club that adopted the same colors and kept the colors going basically to this day. Um, Now, Tipperary, along with Carlow and Kilkenny, also had its arms adopted a long time ago. And then basically, well, in this case, it became obsolete because the county was divided up into two, but then brought back again. I don't have time to get into it, but yeah, that's just the history of Ireland of, coming together and breaking up of things. Just what we do. Now Waterford, again, I don't know when the colors were adopted, or where they came from. Again, just an educated guess is that they just come from the Waterford City Arms. I don't know, three ships, sea, waves, white waves, blue and white. It makes sense. It's they're like maritime colors. It's a famous maritime Viking city. The oldest in Ireland. Yeah, the arms were adopted in 1997. Again, the Waterford City Arms represented the county until then. You have the Whelans and the Powers, important families within the area. Um, Powers symbol is obviously pretty is the same as Jägermeister, if you know it. Uh, yeah. No, Westmeath. I'm still not sure as well its origins. Westmeath doesn't know either. The colors were probably adopted in 1929. Some sources say earlier, but I haven't seen enough proper proof. I would love to just say they copied Galway, but unfortunately, Galway um, um, adopted the colors after Westmeath, so they had them first. So it could have been with like an international example would be with Qatar for perhaps that it was red and then due to weather factors the colors changed and became darker. So whereas Cork adopted dark red and was told to adopt light red in order to not get confused with Tipperary. um, Westmeath maybe got darker, uh, maybe because of the weather, maybe because of being close to County Louth, who've played, as we know, in red and white since 1912. Yeah, so the arms were adopted in 1968. They incorporated the county colours. So the hill of Uisneach is not, well, we know now with GPS that it's not exactly the center of Ireland, but it's pretty close and was historically the sacred center of Ireland. So if you get a chance to visit it, Children of Lear, another famous folk tale. Um, yeah, again, another example of loads of lakes. We have lines used. As I mentioned, I'll just stress it again that Irish family arms have played a very important role in creating symbols uh, for towns, cities, and counties in Ireland. So civic heraldry. So family heraldry has influenced civic heraldry in this country. So it's very important. So obviously the work of genealogy is very important here. Um, yeah, and Wexford. Um, yeah, so Wexford probably adopted purple and has played in purple and yellow since 1913. Now the issue is there's one source that I found that says purple and gold, or purple and yellow. But then after that, until 1930, the colors are called blue and yellow or blue and gold. So either people were blind or people decided not to um, mention purple for whatever reason, or I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But um, so it's only really from 1930 that we have purple and gold. And if you visit Wexford, if you look at any of their tourism booklets and stuff, those colors continue to play a role in their symbolism. Now the arms were adopted quite late as well, 1988. So again, county town represented the county. Hook Lighthouse is probably the oldest lighthouse in the world. So you get a chance to go there, you should. The spears are taken from the spikes of uh, people from the Irish Rebellion. And yeah, with Lion, Anglo-Norman origins, and again the incorporation of the colors again here. Yellow, like with Donegal, would be associated with the beaches. Wexford also obviously being the sunniest um, part of Ireland. Um, yeah, and just to finish off quickly with Wicklow, as I mentioned, they competed with Meath for green and gold. There was some battle, and they were like writing to the Central Council. But then in the end, around 1731, sorry, 1931, yeah, Wicklow just settled on another Irish combination. So. Yeah, I guess, as you can see, the history of flags and arms is a little bit complicated in Ireland. There's some things we'll probably never know. There's some things we might find out soon, tomorrow, maybe in a week. But I think what we see here is that for such a small island, we have such a strong heritage of symbols, and the color combinations go beyond just green, white, and orange, or gold, if you want to call it. Could be the blue and gold for the either the sunburst flag, or the golden harp on a blue shield, or the green the golden harp on a green shield. So yeah, I guess um, yeah, for Mila Mahagat, thank you very much for listening. And yeah, there you go.